Welcome to the Good Enough Lap Guide in the Ford Mustang GT4 at Interlagos, your lap guide to move up through the splits. The purpose of this video is to give you guys a foundation that you can build a solid, consistent lap off of. Once you can run those solid, consistent laps, you get in the race with the goal to finish the race, you will move up through the splits. Alright guys, first we'll talk about the track characteristics of Interlagos. It's one of those tracks that's just non-stop rhythm. It's got that classic flow where every corner sets up the next. You've got the tight infield section that really tests your patience on throttle and on braking. And then you're launching up through that long left-hand sweeper onto the front straight, which is really important to get a great passing opportunity. Elevation change is huge here. It's easy to overdrive on entry because the track is always loading and unloading. Your car is always changing the balance, shifting the weight around. You need to stay smooth and let the car breathe over the bumps, especially through turns 1 and 2. It also rewards balance and commitment more than pure aggression. Because this track does have such a flow to it, I do feel like there's a ton of passing opportunities here. If you can get someone offline, mess up their rhythm, get them offline, and then take advantage of them being offline to undercut them, under them, just do whatever you can. Maybe they make a mistake and you can take advantage of it. That being said, there are some obvious passing opportunities coming out of 3 into 4. I think also coming out of 5 into 6 is a great passing opportunity. And then obviously coming out of turns 12 and 13, getting a good run out of there is going to set you up nicely for the front stretch. Next, we'll talk about the car characteristics of the Ford Mustang GT4. It will have understeer on entry if you overdrive the entry. If you don't overdrive the entry, the car is pretty neutral, and then when you get to the middle of the corner, it actually does have some oversteer in it, or you could call it rotation, which I find an advantage around this track with all the tight corners where you really need to wrap around the apex and keep it tight on the exit. That being said, to get the most out of this car, it really doesn't hold your hand. You really have to get used to how the weight feels using the throttle in the middle of the corner, just balancing that rotation with getting back on the throttle and picking up a little bit of understeer. It's a real balance with this car, and I find this track brings that out the most out of any track we've been to this season. So at this point in making this video, I just realized I recorded the wrong lap. This is a 40.6. My fastest lap was a 39.9. I do not have the replay file for that lap. So all I have is the raw footage I recorded when I ran the lap. Thankfully I have that. So I will post that at the end of the video so you can see that lap. That being said, all these braking points, all these turn-in points, they all hold up. They're all the same. I just optimized the lap a little bit more in my 39.9. So sorry about that, but I won't be able to go back, re-edit all this. I just don't have the time to do it. So please check out the 39.9 at the end of this video. Thank you. So that being said, the weather for the 40.6 was 79 degrees Fahrenheit or 61.1 degrees Celsius. The track temp was 83 degrees Fahrenheit or 28.3 degrees Celsius. I'm pretty sure the 39.9 was very close to that weather. For the 39.9, sector 1 was a 24.940. Sector 2 was a 14.404, Sector 3 was a 22.067, Sector 4 was a 14.343, and Sector 5 was a 24.226. Alright, let's get into the lap. For turn 1, we're going to brake at the 100 marker, and it's going to be heavy straight line braking. As we get to the 50 marker, we're going to begin a very gradual turn-in. For turn 1, it's going to be a middle to late apex, and then we're going to cut over the curb. You're going to want to wrap the car around the apex to get the best line for turn 2. For turn 2, it's going to be an earlier apex, and we're going to cut over the curb. Your line for turn 1 sets up your line for turn 2. If you get too shallow in turn 1, it's going to mess up turn 2, and then you're going to be shallow for turn 3. So you're really thinking about turn 3 in this whole section. You want to make sure you wrap the end of the corner around turn 1 so you get a nice turn in for turn 2, and then that gives you a nice line into turn 3. For turn 3, we're going to hug the curb around the middle part of the corner. If you guys are enjoying this video, finding it useful, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out my channel. I appreciate it. The braking point for turn 4 is going to be about 30 to 40 feet before the 100-foot sign, and it's going to be hard straight line braking. There's no obvious reference for your turn-in point, but this is where I turn in, and again it starts with a very gradual turn-in. It'll be a middle apex for turn 4. I like to use the path on the left as a reference point of where the apex is, and then we'll cut over the curb. Now, because I can't exactly remember if I got a 1-ax on this lap, I kind of think I let the car go too far out wide in the middle section here, so I'm going to splice in the lap that I ran a 39.9 that I know I did not get a 1X, and that's about as far out as you want to let the car go. So you can see we come off the corner, you let the right side tires get about that far, and you won't get a 1X. In this video, you see we dropped off a little bit more, that's probably a 1X. In 5, pretty simple corner, we're just going to cut the curb a little bit, and it'll be a later apex. For turn 6, there's no obvious braking point, but I like to use that flag stand on the left as a reference point, so you can see we're braking about 50 to 60 feet before that flag stand, and then we'll begin our turn in as we're approaching the flag stand. So this will be some straight line braking that turns into trail braking. As we're turning into the corner, it's going to be a middle to late apex. The most important thing here is not to let the car float out too wide in between turns 6 and 7. You want to keep a pretty tight, narrow line between the two corners. That's how you're going to optimize your speed through these two corners. Then for turn 7, you're going to have a late apex. There's no obvious braking point for turn 8. It's going to be as you're floating out to the curb, and once you get to the curb, it's going to be medium trail braking. And then for the corner itself, it'll be a middle to late apex. This is one of those corners when you're going to want to wrap around the apex and keep the car as far to the right as you can so you get the best line into turn 9. And then turn 9 tends to be one of the trickier corners, although I still do enjoy it, because this is where you're going to have to find the balance of getting off the throttle, feeling the rotation in the corner, knowing when you can get back onto the throttle and the car is going to stick. So we basically get to the curb here. We're just going to ride that white line till we get about 3/4 through the corner. Then that's when we're really going to get on the throttle again, and the car's naturally going to come off that line. Again, no obvious braking point for turn 10, but it's as the track starts to straighten out here and we're kind of in the middle of the track, it's going to be medium to light trail braking. Turn 10 is a middle to late apex. This is going to be another one of those corners where we're going to wrap around the apex and keep the car as far right on the track as we can on exit so we get the best line into turn 11. So you can see here we're pretty far to the right side of the track. This is where you want to be. You'll just go a little bit more to the right on this little short chute here, and then we'll begin our turn in for turn 11. There will be a middle late apex for turn 11, another one of those corners where you're going to have to find the balance of the car. You will have to lift a little bit because the car does pick up understeer, not that much. It'll let the car rotate just when you lift that throttle a little bit, and then you should be able to get hammered down through the rest of the corner. And you can see here we're just going to want to hug that white line around the middle part of the corner. For turn 12, you're going to brake right at the end of the curb. It's going to be heavy straight line braking, and then you do not want to go too far to the right or you will get a 1X. And then your turn-in point will be just before the crosshatch runoff ends on the right. It'll be a middle late apex for the corner, and you can cut over the curb. If you guys found this video useful, hit that subscribe button. I'm doing them every week. The last part is pretty straightforward. You just want to run some tight lines around these last two kinks. Get the best run you can off 12. That'll give you the best shot to get this straightaway pass going into turn 1. And that's your good enough lap guide in the Ford Mustang GT4 at Interlagos. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
40.142. That was your fastest lap of the session. 139.979. That was your fastest lap of the session.